like that.
You saying there, in your experience in baseball, there was never a player that moved that needle
meaningfully enough that would cover their salary? Never once, and there's never been a player. And anyone who tells you otherwise, they're simply lying to you. But I'm about to give you the exception. Caitlin Clark, with Unrivaled, would be the example where she will bring with her a pot of money that otherwise would not be available to Unrivaled, and that would help inform me what I'd be willing to give her, which I assume is what they are willing to give her, which is going to be far greater than anyone else in the league. It will be more money overall comp than the co-founders. There will be an opportunity for more equity because it's measurable, because I bet that they've negotiated in a way with their partners that should they get this tornado of benefit, which is named Caitlin Clark, then what may be worth $1 today is worth $2 tomorrow, and they want to monetize.
Commissioner Panic isn't just activated at this point, it's DEFCON 1. You can hear the alarms blaring over in Miami because Caitlin Clark's fans have once again rejected Unrivaled, and not politely. They didn't brush it off or split down the middle. No, they crushed it, stomped on it, and made sure everybody watching understood exactly what the message was.
Of Unrivaled announcing this is all strategic. They could have announced this at literally any other time. They are doing it as a negotiation tactic. We have also heard from players that the WNBA does not want players to play in Unrivaled, and they don't want them to play in overseas leagues. I have been one who has said from the beginning, I just don't see how these two leagues coexist. I don't see how they coexist if both of them are successful. At the end of the day, Unrivaled is a competitor league to the WNBA. You don't see it in any other pro sports. Now, the WNBA is different because they have a shorter season. They haven't been able to pay the players.
This is the second time in 2 years Clark's fan base has rejected Unrivaled's advances, and both times the verdict wasn't even close. If you're running this league and your golden ticket, your dream recruit, the player you've literally banked your future on, gets not just rejected, but rejected by her own supporters in overwhelming fashion, that's not a setback, that's an existential crisis. So, let's start with the numbers, because numbers don't spin. A poll went up asking Caitlin Clark supporters, should she take her talents to Unrivaled? And if you don't know, Unrivaled is this glitzy but questionable new women's basketball experiment, half-court 3-on-3 8-week season down in Miami. They cram in 800 fans to a gym, crank up the lights, throw a few camera crews around, and tell you it's the future of women's sports.
In this case, though, the biggest fish, David, and it's not close, is of course Caitlin Clark. And that is not a statement, as we always have to caveat, about is she the #1 best player in the league? That's an argument that many have had and will continue to have in the ways that we want to Mount Rushmore everything. But in terms of the draw, the biggest free agent, the biggest economic stimulus package that can be provided to a startup like this, it's obviously her, and she is not signed.
She's bigger than even Shohei Ohtani in terms of direct. My view is that in terms of direct relation to bottom line performance of a league, you get Caitlin Clark, you are able to go to banks and present financials that are way more base case than upside case. And your base case goes higher. You have more access to capital. Your sponsorship revenue goes up. Your media rights deal, I assume there's some sort of minimum guarantee and maybe an upside, maybe whatever deal that was negotiated. Having Caitlin Clark is an absolute
poll, devastating. Roughly 78% of fans voted no, only around 22% voted yes. That's not mixed feelings, that's a slam, a body blow, a knockout in the first round.
Well, I don't want to watch her play with players that they can't stand her and that she's going to benefit their league. That's all she's doing in the WNBA is benefiting a bunch of haters and their league. Let's be real. She is women's basketball as a whole, right? So
Caitlin Clark's fan base didn't want her anywhere near Unrivaled's shiny logos, no matter how much money was on the table. And here's the kicker, it wasn't even the first time. Last year, the league approached her with an eye-popping offer, a cool $1 million to join for just 2 months. Think about that, 8 weeks of work, 10x her WNBA salary. Didn't matter. Back then, fans rejected it too, and not quietly. They shut it down overwhelmingly, the same as now. Twice in 2 years, the Caitlin Clark community has stared at a massive paycheck waving right in front of their star's face, and both times they said, "Keep it. We're not interested." When history repeats itself, it's not an accident, it's a pattern. And for Unrivaled, it's the worst possible pattern you could imagine. You can throw all the money in the world at Caitlin Clark, you can dazzle it with investors, and you can make it look like some cultural movement, but none of it matters. Because the fans have already decided. So let's break down why.
There were some new announcements that just came out, and this news was announced on September 8th. So just 7 months after the conclusion of its inaugural season, Unrivaled said it has been valued at $340 million. Some of the biggest headlines throughout this entire season are the CBA negotiations. Announcing this at All-Star Pay Us What You Owe Us, from what we have heard from so many players, because they've been very outspoken, they have given us a lot of information about these talks. Things are not going league and the players still seem to be bumping heads and not able to come to an agreement on these CBA negotiations. Now, the deadline ends on October 31st. They can extend it, but you guys, it just gets really tricky. And I think the timing of Unrivaled announcing.
There were some new announcements that just came out, and this news was announced on September 8th. So, just 7 months after the conclusion of its inaugural season, Unrivaled said it has been valued at $340 million. At some of the biggest headlines throughout this entire season are the CBA negotiations. They wore the shirts at All-Star Pay Us What You Owe Us. From what we've heard from so many players, because they've been very outspoken, they have given us a lot of information about these talks. Things are not going well. The league and the players still seem to be bumping heads and unable to come to an agreement on the CBA negotiations. Now the deadline ends on October 31st. They can extend it, but you guys, it just gets really tricky, and I think the timing of Unrivaled announcing this matters. First, let's talk about culture. Caitlin Clark, whether she likes it or not, is the lightning rod of women's basketball. Opposing players resent her attention. Some of her own teammates side-eye her star power. Jealousy, envy, call it what you want, it follows her every night in the WNBA. And now you're suggesting to fans that she should move into a league where this jealousy isn't just in the background, it's literally baked into the DNA. Remember, Unrivaled is player-owned and player-operated, which means walking into an arena where half your bosses are also your rivals. Think the tension in the WNBA is real now? Imagine turning up to a new league where the very people cutting your checks don't want you to succeed. Fans aren't dumb. They know that's a toxic setup, so they don't want her anywhere near it. It's fun in Olympic competition as a novelty, but as the foundation of a pro sports league? Fans just don't see it. They don't care about it. It's half-court drills stretched into a TV package, and when you flip on the broadcast, it looks like exactly that: dim lighting, awkward camera angles, empty-looking gyms. They can call it sold out at 800 tickets, but on screen it looks like a high school scrimmage. And here's the brutal truth: Caitlin Clark's fans love basketball, but they don't love gimmicks. They want her on the brightest stage, not in a glorified summer camp league. And finally, the key reason: trust. Unrivaled is brand new, unstable, still in startup phase, struggling to even prove its legitimacy. Caitlin Clark's audience doesn't trust the league, its leadership, its product, or its long-term stability. They see through it as a flashy cash grab trying to ride Clark's coattails. They think she deserves better. Here's where Unrivaled's commissioner really thought they had the upper hand: money. And on paper, they should have been right. Clark's WNBA rookie salary hovers around $78,000. Add in bonuses and endorsements, sure, she makes more, but her actual team paycheck is laughable compared to what she generates. Then along comes Unrivaled, waiving a $1 million guarantee for 8 weeks. Shorter season, less travel, more pay. If you think about it in strictly numbers, it's the smarter deal. But again, Clark's fans still crushed the offer. Why? Because they know her value. Caitlin Clark isn't a $1 million player. She's a $50 million annual revenue engine for any institution lucky enough to have her. That $1 million bait looks dumb when you realize she's single-handedly responsible for the WNBA landing a $2.2 billion TV rights deal. Networks don't fork out that kind of money for Angel Reese, AJA Wilson, or Brianna Stewart alone. They cough it up because Caitlin Clark supercharged the market. Fans know that $1 million is pocket change compared to the cultural power she carries. In their eyes, Unrivaled isn't elevating her, it's discounting her. And that's why they're so quick to say no. Let's compare some figures, because fans always pay attention to this stuff. Last year, the WNBA lost around $40 million as a whole. Unrivaled? Only about $10 million in the red, which at least looks efficient by comparison. But here's the difference. One bleeds cash while growing viewership, expanding teams, and nabbing blockbuster TV rights deals. The other bleeds cash while averaging 150,000 viewers on a national network slot and pretending crowds of 800 are proof of success. Meanwhile, Big Three basketball, Ice Cube's league made of ex-NBA players in their 40s, pulls in 600,000 viewers regularly. That's 4 times Unrivaled's audience. If Clark fans see that, what do you think they're going to say? Why on earth should the best, most marketable talent in women's basketball